God eftermiddag, pojkar och flickor. Here in Sweden we have a rather wonderful high summer afternoon. But I'm inside streaming war games, of course. Welcome back to War in the East 2, turn 17. Soviet human player controlled, but almost finished. We are nearing the mud season. As you can see here, we have light mud on the ground. However, as I mentioned before, I do believe that next week, the 19th of October, turn 18, it seems like there's only going to be light mud again. I might be mistaken, and it actually turns up heavy mud, but I think it's quite late, the latter end of October, and no heavy mud. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, that's the weather. We do have heavy rain all over the place this week and next week, according to the estimated next turn weather. There we go. Yeah, the Red Army is looking strong compared to a opposed human game, because we're 4 million on the map, around 750,000 in the reserves training. Although national morale is down to 45, which long term is going to hollow out our defenses. But the German army is very exhausted at this time. The AI is not managing his forces very well. I don't think I'm gonna mention a lot more about that. I don't have a lot of new reinforcements coming on map any longer. I am gathering some sort of a tank army. I have 4 tank divisions sitting in Moscow, and I do believe I have 4 more entering this turn that are finished with their training. And I noticed that in the leader pool there is 1 or 2 more mech commanders that I can, if I can scrounge up an empty army headquarters, I can transform this into a tank army. And I'm considering the clear terrain here, counterattack, and then potentially going onto the offensive during the blizzard later. So that's one thing I'm doing. Leningrad is so strongly held that I actually sent troops away along with the first railroad repair brigade here. And I'm fiddling around with using a Cav Corps headquarters to enter some new support units into the coastal army headquarters here in Oranienbaum. And I also been exiting with a couple of smaller on-map non-converted support units like the Ösel rifle regiment here, for example, because they were hogging a lot of the command capacity. But now we're down to 72 in Leningrad Front. Leningrad Front is usually a very strong front, around over 500,000 men, and in good shape. And we didn't have a lot of. We only had 1 attack. The Germans, they've given up here. My long-term goal would be to liberate and secure the double railroad line from Moscow to Leningrad here, but I don't think I'm gonna have the forces to do it even during the blizzard, unless if I can do it with the forces in place. Yeah, sure, that's fine. And as you can see here behind the line, I have a second refitting line of infantry, and 2 of them are very large Far Eastern 15,000 men large divisions that I'm not even sure if I need them here. I'm probably going to use them in the line and replace them. So Leningrad in a way is at this time a bit overpowered, to be honest, I feel. Not so much overpowered is the poor Northwestern Front under the command of Voroshilov. He's a decent leader, 4.5 average. However, let us check out his numbers. It's below 300,000, only 3,500 artillery. And if you sort by fatigue, you can see that you start with 78 fatigue. And even if I scroll far down the list, I mean, you can still fight reasonably well with 20-30 fatigue. But I have to go all the way down here to get below 20 fatigue. So you can see how many forces are heavily fatigued in this poor. And you can also see that there are, okay, let's remove the air bases. You can see there's a lot of under strength units here. If you kind of found out that if you take the starting menu, I'm sure all of you guys know this, but I haven't used this feature. If you press the strength alert here and scroll out, you can see that all over the front, you can see that there are not a lot of under strength units around Leningrad, whereas here around Northwestern Front you have a lot of orange, which are under strength. I don't understand how the game thinks I have 82 unready units. I disagree with that. Under 65% under strength, sure, yes, I do have 60 of those, probably more, but I'm not so sure I have that many under ready. But anyways, and recently reinforcing small divisions brigade size around Moscow. Yes, I know that. Same here, Voronezh Front. Lots of orange that are 5-6k under strength brigade size reinforcing units. So Northwestern Front is rather weak. And you can also supply alerts. I don't have major problems with supplies. I think the reason I have so many out of supply troops here is probably because they've been in heavy combat and retreated and engaged. And that's probably the reason. Here though, it is hard to get rail in enough to support all these troops here. So even though the front has been rather stable here, I can understand why there's low supplies here. The reason we see some low supply troops here is probably that they entered the map and walked up here, and they haven't really filled up their supplies because they had to be rushed to the front to defend the Oka River line. So that about that. So back to the Northwestern Front, which is where the most action is taking place. This turn, the Germans punished us severely. You can see how many battles we've had going on here, and of course, I never had any strong troops in this front at all. So this is very painful. But I have fallen back and given up some territory that should help me to defend. So I started this turn something like this, right? And now I've fallen back instead to have a line here. I have some very, very weak divisions in the back line, refitting. Only one single division here in the center, and a weak center line, and again some refitting troops back here. Then I have a decent line again, but there are holes here for the Germans to exploit. These isolated units down here, these guys were isolated. They managed to fall back up here and reconnect because the AI left a hole in its line. This shows you how stupid the AI is. And then I have a decent line here, and then comes a stronger line all the way down here. Let me see. Yeah, with very good leadership. So it's not a total disaster. In the direction of Rzhev northeast, I'm fairly strong. But when it comes to the center and even the left flank of the Northwestern Front, I am very weak. Although I am railing in some brigade-sized divisions here, 2 of them. So we actually have, and another one here in Rzhev. So we have a little bit of troops coming this way. Oh, this guy. Where did I intend to send him? I don't know. There's a lot of tanks here. I should probably send this guy to... here. And this guy doesn't have an anti-tank. So let's put him in the 28th Army. And then I move up the headquarters to this hex. And I convert it. Wait, why can't I do that? Because it's on train. Right, now I convert it and it enters the headquarters. And it is now inside the headquarters as a support unit, which means by rolling, I think, initiative of Sokolovsky, he can reinforce at any point on the front. And then we're gonna move him back here so that he can support all his, that is within command range of all his units. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, what else is there to say? It is more or less of a disaster, but the only locations I care about here is this fort and depot and airbase. I think I'm upgrading this airbase to level 2, and I have a fort and a depot there, so I want to defend that hex. And of course I care about Rezhev and the railroads leading here. Other than that, I am willing to give up all other terrain here. So with that in mind, yes, I suffer some losses, but I am fighting in very favorable defensive terrain. There's really no reason for the Germans to keep this amount of troops here. I was considering kind of using some fresh troops from the 54th Army and make a counterattack here and use the cavalry that was sitting, this cavalry started here, and try to encircle these units here. But I just figured I am too weak to perform a counterattack. And I don't want to risk it. I'd rather play it safe and wait for reinforcements and Mother Nature to take its course and this part of the front to stabilize. I really don't want to, I want the Germans to grind to a halt here, and then I just want to sit staring at each other and have a lot of attrition during the winter. I don't want to do anything with the Northwestern Front. And if you compare all the fronts about their wins and losses, you can see here the Northwestern Front has won 14 battles, but it's lost 103. So I would say Voroshilov, he should be grateful that he hasn't been executed yet, because this is the second most losses of any front headquarters on the map. And it's really not in a sector where you should be fighting this much. So the German AI has made this an intensity sector more than I was expecting. Alright, next is Western Front. The Western Front is strong. It's just sitting here and doing really nothing. Did we perform? I don't think we performed any counterattacks in this sector. Nope, we did not. I guess I haven't made up my mind. I should probably use the 29th Tank Army here and try to attack these weak panzer regiments here. I guess I haven't done that yet. Maybe I'm forgetting about it. Maybe I'm hesitating. I don't know why, really. I mean, yeah, I probably just forgotten about it. Then we move on along the front to Moscow. Here we have the 14th Army, which is a rather new army. And let me see here. Yeah, we do have a red commander, so 5.1 average. Where did I upgrade a leader? That's further south. Yes. He's, as you can see here, I have some anti-tank regiments in the line, but I have single divisions. They're not okay. Some of them are strong, actually. I wonder if they've been reinforcing. Oh, here's another interesting fact. I examined how many infantry divisions I have in total now. It is 343, and they had an establishment of was it around 3.1 million men? So I calculated the average, and the average of all infantry divisions in the entire game is 9,000 men, almost exactly. So a 10,000 division is stronger than average, but my 6,000 brigade divisions that I have in a large portion of the line, they are under strength, they are under average. And I guess this section of the front is rather okay. We have some nice forts, level 2 forts, and the terrain is good here with a lot of heavy woods and the river. So I guess this front, but the 30th Army, yeah, nice leadership, of course, Vasilevsky. But as you can see here, we do have some tank mechanized formation sitting here, and I have beefed it up this week. And it is a major river, but definitely not the strongest part of the front. And I think the Germans been resting up here, and with only light mud on the map, there might be a push against the Oka River defenses this turn. I don't know what's gonna happen here. Now we get into another weak sector, of course, is the 50th Army under Stavkat. I am filled to the limit, all my front headquarters. So now I have my kind of off the front armies. They don't have a front command because that would be over the command limit. And then we have a couple of counterattacks to talk about in this sector here. We start from the north, where we attacked with 3 rifle divisions, 37,000 men, pushed back a single German infantry regiment, and they lost around 5 times as many troops as I did. Not super heavy losses, but ratio-wise, I'm very happy with it. And we only lost... Oh, yeah, they have tank regiments and tank battalions attached to them. Oh, and I see a motorcycle regiment. But we lost 6 tanks here. So, a very nice little counterattack, pushing them back. Then we were unlucky and had a full infantry division activate as a reserve, which meant that we ran into a held result here and suffered some heavy losses, 600 men and 45 tanks. And the Germans barely took any losses at all, but we sent in other troops instead of the 3 tank divisions and followed up with 2 cavalry divisions, which are obviously weak troops, but at this time the remaining infantry regiment was superbly very weak, and this 1 rifle division was decent, so it was enough to retreat the regiment with a 1-to-1 losses, you might say. So a bit of a setback there with the held result, but you know, I feel I've been rather lucky with the reserve activation rolls, to be honest. So I'm not complaining at all. And then we sent in another rifle division attack here, 33,000 attackers versus an isolated infantry regiment, and we lost twice the numbers of the Germans, but we caused a retreat, so I'm happy. Anyways, because these divisions are not very strong. It's kind of a rabble of troops that they have been retreating slowly from different front lines over the so that these guys are not dead. I'm just happy they are alive and actually performing counterattacks in October 1941. That's amazing. So we have 2 tank armies behind the front line here, the 24th and the 32nd tank armies. They are indicated by brown. Of course, they're not proper in-game tank armies because they haven't been put on the map yet, but since they contain only tank mechanized formations, I call them tank armies. The green army is another Stavka army, just resting and refitting behind the front line and digging forts in Tambov, but it shows how dense my formations is in this sector of the front, with the bulge now collapsing in on itself, retreating slowly eastwards. We kind of have a double or even triple line with the 2 tank armies. So I'm very strong in this portion of the front here, you might say, and that makes sense because once there is a winter offensive, Tula seems to be a perfect goal for a winter offensive, right? And with this tank army up here, potentially helping out, performing another encircling. You know, I want to drive, if not encircle and eliminate, I want to drive off these German forces. They are too close to Moscow for comfort for summer of 1942. So there is method to the madness even in this sector of the front. The tank armies are strong, but 22nd Army is weak. Even third Army is weak, and definitely the 42nd Army. They're all weak. We do have some strong infantry divisions in this area here, but mostly it's the tank armies that have offensive capabilities. And I am slowly, the retreating troops from the west are slowly meeting the resting and refitting and reinforcing troops from the east. So the lines are kind of pushing together, and now we have a very nice double triple line here. All right. I have managed to kind of re-establish the Voronezh river line here. But all these divisions are small, weak divisions that have reinforced 10 hexes away, then run up, accruing a lot of fatigue to the front, and barely dug in at all. So there was a bit of a crisis where the Germans pushed up from Kursk here and arrived about at the same time as my reinforcements, and I barely stopped him from crossing his river. Did we perform any counterattacks in this sector? I don't believe so. I was just too exhausted. Yeah. I'm not able to perform any counterattacks, but I do have 2 far eastern strong, 15,000 strong divisions railing in here, and I plan to have them behind the line, resting and refitting and performing counterattacks in case the Germans manage to cross the Voronezh river line. A strong mountain cavalry division is also reinforcing here, 7,000 strong, to have a little bit of mobility in case I need it. So even this is the second weakest, besides NorthWestern Front. This has been a problem child of mine. It's not a strong sector at all. I'm not sending in any new reinforcements in this sector from the reserve pool. It's only what I'm railing in that's coming this way. But as you can see here, there are a few weak divisions behind the front line, actually resting and refitting. So with every turn and mud arriving, I hope that the German attack force is spent, and we are going to be able to dig in this river position for the winter. But it could look better. It could look better. Another thing is my artillery establishment is back with a vengeance. I have, with very few exceptions, 4 more or less full strength artillery regiments on every single army headquarters that are in the front line. There are a few army headquarters that are just digging in behind the front. They don't have artillery, but I'm feeling fairly confident about my artillery support, and almost every army has at least one mortar battalion as well. Here we had another counterattack, actually 2 of them. One east of Belgorod, and it was 3 tank division that moved up towards a Italian semi-motorized infantry regiment. And while routing them with a 26-1 attack, they suffered 600 losses. I only lost 5 tanks and some. So a very, very successful tank attack here by Batov. Obviously this regiment was weak and it didn't have any force in clear terrain, isolated. It was a very bad positioning from the AI. Again, I do believe I played the AI on an even higher difficulty level than what I'm doing now. It's just not playing very well. I wanted to attack these 2 Italian regiments here as well, but I didn't have the forces available to do it. I did retreat this division from a level 2 fort here on the other side of the river, gave up a strong fort position. And here in this sector I have 3 infantry divisions. Well, you should call them brigades because they're so weak, but weak infantry divisions that are going to replace these cavalry divisions here. Oh, I guess I have 2 divisions here that came up this way this turn. So slowly I am trying to establish, because I am holding this part of the entire front here with mostly tanks and cavalry and some very, very weak infantry. So this is a very weak part of the front. And there is a threat. The threat to this rail line here is real. I need to hold this rail line. I'm not sure what happens if the Germans occupy zone of control next to the rail line. I think it lessens the throughput of freight. Is that correct? I don't think it stops it. But if you, for example, there is no supply or freight entering into Kharkov, even though they should be able to enter with trucks into the supply depot. Maybe it's because of the Germans' zone of control here. I don't know. I don't understand the supply system well enough. The southern counterattack was down here by Kharkov, and I am extremely weak in this sector, so that I managed to scrounge together 3 infantry divisions to attack this. I think I attacked only because it's a panzer regiment and it was isolated. I managed to inflict 14 tank losses, and a bit interesting is that I attached tank battalions. So they have 9 T-34 tanks each. So these 18 tanks, 12 of them were knocked out, but I would like to think that they helped knock out 14 German tanks so that the infantry didn't have to attack. So I like the role-playing element of these armies of millions of men sitting staring. They're now down to small battalions of 9 T-34s making local counterattacks. But the combat result is a 33 versus 1, so a very substantial attack. I guess the 16th Panzer Division should be happy it's not routing here. And we do see in this hex, for some reason, we see air support. I don't understand where the German Luftwaffe has been all early fall, but here it is finally. Anyways, I like this counterattack. First because it succeeded, and second because it was such a cute minimal tank engagement here. But of course, you can tell here how many German... Okay, these were attacks by the Hungarian cavalry or motorized brigade, so that they just gave me victory results. So it was kind of... But anyways, don't get fooled here. The Soviet 13th Army has nice leadership, but these divisions are weak and severely fatigued. If you check out the fatigue levels here in this army, it starts at 56, and you have to go very far down the list before you get under 20 in fatigue. So it's almost entirely exhausted, this army. I would really enjoy some mud in this sector of the front here. And also some reinforcements would be nice. I did send in 3 cavalry divisions, which was all I had to place, and I plan on setting them here on the back line and use these weak infantry divisions and move them up here and cover, because I have holes in my line because of that counterattack I performed. And before I end this turn, I need to figure out how I'm gonna cover these holes on the river line here. I guess I'll have to move over this division here. Now there you go. Oh, I do have 1 weak division here. Maybe I need to sacrifice you. No, he's not gonna be able to make it up here all the way. And in the Stalino sector, we had some successful counterattacks as well. I'm gonna check out those. First here in the north, we used our 4th elite army with I think some of these divisions are gonna turn guard very soon, because now these 51,000 men attacked an entire light division of 8,000 Germans, and we managed to push them back with 10-1 losses, so very nice. And again, we can see that we are using light tank battalions, which they have the T-38 amphibious tank attached to them. And since there is a major river here, and they are sitting on the south side of the river, and I figured like amphibious tanks could be useful here. There's quite a few of them, but they're not very strong. We lost 5 of them, and maybe they helped establish this nice 15-1 combat result here. I'm very happy with this attack under Vatutin, so thank you for that. One successful attack. Then I pushed back behind the front lines here a 3rd Panzer Division. The entire division was here, and it was weak, but of course an entire Panzer Division with 89 tanks, it's not gonna be a pushover, and there is light mud on the ground. We lost 84 tanks, attacking with nearly 600, and they lost 29 tanks. I mean, I am very happy exchanging 3-to-1 ratio tank for tank. So this was a very solid attack. But as you can see here, my attack is 50,000 men and 600 tanks. I'm attacking with a rifle division, 1 mechanized division, very strong, and in 3 fairly strong tank divisions. So this is a very heavy attack under the command of Rokossovsky. And at 12-to-1, we established a rather comfortable retreat here. And those 29 tanks, I hope most of them are going to be destroyed because he had to retreat. And I'm very happy we didn't have a reserve activation here, because it's important to push him back in this location. So one of the most successful attacks during this turn here. So let's examine. Okay, we might as well talk about the last counterattack. No, there's actually 2 counterattacks down here. We sent in 2 mechanized divisions and a tank division for a total of 300 tanks, just pushing back a single regiment with 5-to-1 losses, you might say, in infantry at least. Very good. Isolated, out on the field without forts, no reserves, and I just handily push him back with 26-to-1. And this means I lose less than half of my combat preparation because the attack result is so successful. I thought it was a hard rule that if you have 100 combat preparation, you lose half and you have 50 remaining. But I have seen now for sure that you can lose less than half. Anyways. Here's another attack. I mean, it was going so well, and these regiments are so weak that I sent in another tank division, mech and NKVD motorized, and with 35,000, I attacked 5,000. This time, oh, this was a Panzer regiment that I attacked, but they lost 22 tanks and we lost 38. So I'm very happy with this result again. Attritional combat, and I am training my troops for the future this way. And then I did a little sneaky maneuver here. I sent in the 4th Crimean, very weak division. It took naval transport from this port over here. So I now know that I can, better than walking from Rostov and walking all the way down here, it's better to naval transport them into this Mariupol port. And I'm even considering establishing a city fort in Mariupol, because I am nearly level 3 fort there. And I'm not sure if a city fort counts as a fort that will allow you to increase a port from level 3 max fort to level 4. But even if I have that, I can place down a fort zone, and then I could slowly build this up to a level 4 fort. And actually use that as a kind of a base for some sort of winter offensive. Maybe I can even do semi-encirclements this way here and alleviate the pressure in the center from all these German panzers. And you know, I have that 4th elite infantry army with guards up in the north, and maybe I could put pressure on the center outside Stalino. Let's examine what happened in the center. I'm getting a bit carried away here. Again, I had to make a choice if I should place fort zones here and build up these forts. It doesn't look like I need to do that this turn, because there's no immediate threat of a German breakthrough. On the other hand, if I don't place them now, these troops are gonna sit there needlessly and just look stupid. One guard and one very nice mountain division. So I haven't made up my mind what to do with my last 7 APs here. Save them for leader replacements next turn, or place 2 or 3 fort zones. We have a new army headquarters, the 56th Army, with the worst Soviet leader ever, Gustav Jonsson. Sounds kind of Swedish, to be honest. I wonder if this is... I wonder where this army headquarters came from. Maybe I was being a bit of an exploiter and sent this over from the Far East. No, 56th. I couldn't tell you. Could go into the Wikipedia and read about it, and it was subordinated to the Southern Front, so it doesn't say anything about Far East. Yeah, it doesn't matter, but he's a very strong contender for being replaced by a better leader with an average of 2.8, and he only costs 6 admin points to replace because his political status, political value, political number, statistic. His political value is 1, so he's extremely inexpensive to replace. So I don't want to replace an army leader. I would need a bit more than what I actually have now this week, so I can't do it. Yeah, of course, this green army here, the 18th Army, is kind of a new front army, only 3.5 average leader, so very bad leader. He needs to be replaced as well. The only reason I dare to keep such a bad leader in the front line is because I really haven't seen any strong German attacks here in the south, and with my counterattacks, I suspect there's not going to be a lot of fighting here this week. Alright, but we do have to examine the situation north of Stalino. I did push into this hex with a extremely bad defensive value of 4. I have rather low fatigue on these battle-weary troops, and I hope they are going to dig in a bit and increase the defensive value. But if nothing else, there's 3 rather good strength divisions sitting there in front of the Germans. The terrain is clear terrain, no river, no forts. But if he wants to attack this hex, he can't attack anywhere else. This is a meat grinder, the battle for Stalino, and I'm willing to suffer losses. Even if he pushes him back, even if he routs me, I do have other divisions, 1, 2 of them behind the line here, and I just decided to hug the line and take the fight to him. Because the same here, I'm not well dug in this hex. I lost the city here with the Hungarian, and I'm not strong enough to push back this cavalry brigade. I have a under strength division here in the forest, and then you have counter-attacking tanks and mechanized here. So, to be honest, I'm not strong enough to... I guess I'm fighting him to a stalemate at the moment, but I can't really feed much more forces in here because of supply issues. So I'm gonna be... It's kind of a slugging match where he attacks me on his turn and I attack and push him back on his turn. And I am strong here in this sector. He's not gonna be able to break through here. So I guess he has to push himself through the center. But it's not looking great. But it's not a catastrophe yet. And I'm not sending in many reinforcements here. The reason, I mean, there is a bit of a secondary line here, right? I'm not totally defenseless behind the heavy, dense front concentration of troops. So we'll see what happens. It all depends on what the Germans can do on their attacking turn. There should be mud soon, right? And I don't like keeping tanks in the front line, but I really don't know what to do. If I spread them out and fall back, it's going to leave an opening. And I don't want to leave these 2 depots open here, because that's how I get my supplies into the sector. So it is a critical sector. I'm not gonna say a lot about Kirsch. It looks like the same as ever. 200,000 defenders down there. So of course everything's looking very well because the AI is incompetent. But I had a good run fighting the AI up until Mud so far. It's been fun, and it's only a bit later in the campaign when you manage to attrition down the AI's troops so that they are so weak and vulnerable that his tactical inaptitude really starts to notice that the skill level of an AI to a human opponent kind of... So if I were to play this again against an AI opponent, I would probably raise the difficulty even further, 130, maybe even 140, I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you feel would be a... Just remember, I'm not playing on a difficulty level which lowers the Soviet values. I am playing as a human would at 100. So I'm a bit stronger than if you increase the AI setup from the start of the game. But 120 is quite strong for the AI opponent. But he would have needed to be even stronger to be a match. Although I have read human versus human games where the Germans have performed worse than this AI, to be honest. So he's not entirely... I mean, he is 8 hexes from Moscow, right? And he is at Voronezh. He hasn't taken Kharkov yet. That's kind of inept. Yeah, would you abandon Kharkov or not? That is a question I ask myself every turn. Of course, Kharkov itself is a very strong position, but if he cuts off one of these 2 bottlenecks here, yeah, I get isolated, and there's no way I'm gonna save. But if you look at the German troops here, they're not very, very strong. He has a lot of them, and I kind of I've been slowing down this huge blob of German infantry by keeping this line this long. So I suppose you have to make some sacrifices. If there is an encirclement here and I do lose a pocket, it might have been worth it considering how many weeks I've held up the Germans attacking in this sector. He could have very well have advanced further to the east if I hadn't risked it week after week. So I kind of regret that I didn't keep the T-34 factories in Kharkov, because I actually held it until turn 16 or 17, whenever it is the factories evacuate. And my theater boxes are now... I should be up very close to 100 in all of them, in both ground and air. Maybe not Transcaucasus. Why am I down to 84? Alright, I need to send an infantry division to Transcaucasus, because I can't remember if I did. The Far East... Oh! I can actually remove something from the Far East now as well. Alright. Good. It's always fun to take the high quality troops of the Far East and send them eastwards towards the map. Anyways, if you made it to the end, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.